All right, so this is part 2 of the Purple Dawn theory, Saturn theory video. I just want to play this again and explain the synchronicity here. So, before I was making the video yesterday, I compiled all the information. I was just going to sit on and think about it for a while. So I turned on the football game yesterday to try to watch, take my mind off it, kind of let everything sink in. And this was, I hadn't seen this before, hadn't heard of this movie. This was literally one of the first commercials that came on, and it kind of just stopped me in my tracks. And you'll hear what they say, and then we all know how Hollywood plants things in our mind.
We've been taught that the birthplace of the human race is Earth, but it's not.
So that's basically it. As we've been taught, the birthplace of the human race is Earth, but it's not. And it goes off into a whole thing, and I was like, what could they possibly call this movie? Jupiter Ascending, which fits in absolutely perfectly with what we're going to say here. So on the left, we have Troy McLaughlin. On the right is Theodore Holden, and they're the proponents of this Purple Dawn theory. Their website, Cosmos in Collision, that's the name of their website and the name of the book. I haven't read the book, but we'll get into some of the finer points of the website and the theory that I've heard from them here. So these next 4 images are from themandus.org, and this was on their website. I just want to make sure proper credit is given to their images. And what they're saying, it's a different reconstruction of Neanderthals than what science has told us. Essentially, Neanderthals are apes, just bipedal apes, more intelligent, primitive tool making, but essentially apes, not humans. Their DNA, they say it's about halfway between chimpanzee and us, or Homo sapiens. So they were on the primitive Earth. I shouldn't say primitive. They were on the Saturnian Earth, right? Before Homo sapiens got here. So this is a comparison of a human skull and a Neanderthal skull. And this is just my thought. I'm just making the contention that the creature we call Bigfoot, or whatever it's known as around the world, are leftover Neanderthals. It fits perfectly. And you can see humans on the left, Neanderthals on the right. And the way the rib cage is, it's much stronger for kind of carrying things, weight distribution and stuff like that. And then this next picture coming up is more of an artist representation. Well, it is an artist representation of what they would look like, not human-like at all. So whatever science has told you, just throw it out. And if you put red hair instead of black hair, or reddish hair, then you have Bigfoot. Now, the Neanderthal brain was big, and you can see the eyes are big. And there's studies that say the brain, a good part of the brain, was used for visual processing, which would have made sense if it was perpetual twilight. And again, human eyes, comparatively with the rest of our bodies, are very small, which would say that we would come from a bright world. We evolved on a bright world. We can't see at all at night. So it's, again, just another proof that humans did not evolve on Earth. And so the world we came from was wet and dark, and we're going to go into that now. So this next picture here is of Elaine Morgan, and she's the creator of the aquatic ape theory, or aquatic ape hypothesis. And what that says basically is that humans are not from the trees, we're not from the savannah, we're water-based. Live by the coast, in swamps, rivers, lakes. And what I'm showing you, next couple of pictures are just animals having sex. Because most, if not all, there's actually one exception that she mentions, bonobos, which are our closest relatives genetically, don't have face-to-face, call it copulation. It's all back, and that's how you have goats, cats, dogs, chickens, and they all do it this way. They don't do it face-to-face. But aquatic mammals do. So the next slide here is a checklist, basically, of what humans share with aquatic mammals and what we share with apes and savanna mammals. So bipedalism, only humans. Aquatics obviously don't have feet. Loss of body hair, The savanna, the yes there is for elephants and rhinoceroses. All other animals, mammals anyway, still have their body hair. Skin-bonded fat deposits, so the way that the human body uses fat matches with aquatic mammals and not with land mammals. Ventral copulation. Are you looking at the person or do you creep up behind them, basically? And the apes, again, was bonobos, the only exception there. Diminution of acropine glands, hymen, which is a vaginal thing, enlarged septaceous glands, psychic tears, being able to cry with emotion, and not just because you get smoke in your eyes, but actually it's two different tear ducts or two different passageways for the tears to get out. Loss of vibrissae. Volatoneal breath control, being able to control your breath. Other animals can't do that. It's a human thing, and obviously whales, dolphins, they can hold their breath underwater. And with that, I'm hypothesizing, she doesn't mention this, but I'm saying that that's what the appendix was for. Kind of like an air bladder, being able to fill that up, because the esophagus, if you have food or drink go down the wrong pipe, essentially it goes into your stomach instead of into your lungs. Eccrine thermoregulation, being able to control your body temperature, and descended larynx, and that's another important one, basically saying that we can breathe through our mouths. Most animals breathe through their noses unless they're in distress, and then it takes a lot of effort to breathe through their mouth. But it would be perfect for gulping air. If you're coming up from underwater, taking a huge breath, you need to be able to breathe through your mouth. And then there's also two that are not on the list that I came across that are also important. How our legs and our hips are the strongest parts, not our shoulders and our arms. And that would be perfect, again, for walking through water and swimming. And another one is the loss of smell. Like, we're, just woefully inadequate when it comes to smell. When you think about other predators, I think a bear can smell a human from miles, like literally miles away. Not us, humans can't do that because we're basically aquatic. There's actually two more that I just found reading through my notes again. The fact that our bigger brains were probably due to having a rich omega-3 diet, which would have been fish-based diet, and also the oil glands on our face and body would have been great for waterproofing. And most animals that I can think of do not have oil, cannot produce oil from their bodies. It'll be perfect if you're trying to waterproof your face. So human beings are supposed to be in the water. Like, we're cousins of dolphins, like real close. Now, listen, hear me out here. It sounds crazy. But we need to realize that we need to think outside the box here, because what we've been told in life is just not true. Just realize this is supposedly a picture from the surface of Mars from the rover. And that sure as hell is a person standing there working on it. So there's either two options. Either that person is on Mars with the rover, or the rover is on Earth with that person. So if all this stuff, the Saturn theory, all of this stuff sounds crazy, just realize that what NASA and establishment science is telling you are lies. So all this stuff, you've never heard it before maybe, it doesn't jive with what you believe and what you've been told. Look at this picture. What they're telling you is obviously bullcrap. So we can't take them at their word. Anything that they say, anything that they've taught us that we've learned has to be questioned. So you need people like these who are coming up with alternate theories and piecing evidence together. Because, come on! That's a person standing there working on the rover. And NASA was stupid enough to put this image out for the public. All right, so here are selected moons of the solar system with Earth. All right, so you can see the Earth's moon on the left, and then Jupiter's moon, the four Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. So their theory names Ganymede as the world that humans originally came from. And as I'm doing the research here, I'm going to throw Europa into the mix, and then a Saturnian moon, Iapetus, which is on the bottom, the last moon on the Saturn column. It's a lot smaller than the rest, But as I was digging into this, I mean, it just goes rabbit hole. The more I keep looking into this, the crazier things get. So I'm going to show you at the end of the video why I think Iapetus is in there. But their criteria was it needs to have a magnetic field, it needs to be relative sized, and you need water. And Ganymede fits all of those. Plus, Ganymede is a freshwater planet. There's very little sodium there. So the entire ocean is basically a freshwater ocean. And the surface is made, they're hypothesizing the surface is made of pumice. So there kind of would have been like anchored islands, like regular islands, and then floating pumice bergs, basically, where humans could have hunted off of, lived off of, and stuff. This is a picture from the 70s as the Voyager craft approached Jupiter, or as it passed Jupiter. And you can see Ganymede on the bottom left, Europa on the top right. I mean, full screen this, HD it to read all that stuff. But that's what they thought back then. And again, this is all supposition. There's no time machine. We don't know which one of those worlds, Europa or Ganymede from the Jovian system, or I'm throwing in Iapetus from the Saturnian system. There's nothing that says because it's there now that it started there. You know, it could have easily come from Jupiter and now been captured by Saturn. So again, there's just a comparison of Ganymede with Earth and the Moon. And the reason they didn't include Europa is because it currently does not have a magnetic field. But again, just because it doesn't have one now doesn't mean it didn't have one back then. So again, I'm just going to show you why I'm including Iapetus, just out of the blue, being with Saturn. 2001: A Space Odyssey, Arthur C. Clarke and Kubrick wrote it together. Clarke wrote the novel. It really was a collaborative process. And Kubrick's knowledge of the inner workings here is well documented. We don't have to get into here now. But the book, again, took place at Saturn, not Jupiter, and he gave a prominent role to the moon Iapetus. For the film's adaptation, they changed it to Jupiter because the rings were hard to create. I don't believe that for 1 second. Kubrick would have gotten it done. But again, this is also with Europa, why the warning that was in the second movie, 2010, was this. All these worlds are yours except Europa. Attempt no landing there. Use them together. Use them in peace. And we all know how they put information like this into movies for us. So, I mean, they could have taken it out of 2001 because it was too obvious to be Iapetus and put it into 2010 to kind of plant the seed into our minds that it is Europa. And this stuff's crazy. Like I said, it's rabbit hole. And again, from Wikipedia, the sons of Iapetus were sometimes regarded as mankind's ancestors. And as such, some of humanity's worst qualities were said to have been inherited from these four gods, from the sons of Iapetus. So I mean, it's possible at the time that Iapetus was filled with humanoids. And in case you don't know what it looks like, Death Star. That's the Death Star moon that we're talking about here. Again, Hollywood putting it into our subconscious. So maybe there was another race of humanoids that were on Iapetus at the time that the Cro-Magnons and the Neanderthals were on primitive Earth, while Ganymede was filled with a different kind of humanoid. And if you're saying, well, how's that possible? Shouldn't they have all evolved from the same thing? I mean, if you haven't heard of Rupert Sheldrake and Morphic resonance, you need to know what that is. To me, I mean, that's the perfect explanation for why there could be multiple humanoid races or different versions of humanoids on different planets that would have evolved separately. It's like saying there can only be one evolution of a cat or of a bird. No, at different planets, it just would know to evolve or to become a cat or a bird or a humanoid, as it were. And then the specifics are evolved to that specific planet. You know, the small eyes for a bright world, the large eyes for a dark world. And, you know, being aquatic based or being savanna based, you know, you get different features, but essentially you're the same creature. So again, I'm running out of time here. I didn't get into half of the stuff I wanted to. I'm going to make another video right after this and release them back to back. But this is a fossilized mushroom. So as the Earth didn't have direct sunlight for thousands and thousands of years, you can just imagine the stuff that would have been growing around us. And somehow this one became fossilized, and there it is. So I hope this was informative. I didn't get in as much information as I wanted to, so I'm going to make another part right now with the rest of the notes.